Hello everyone, welcome. It is Juliet here, and today we are going to be using some supplies that came in the April Showers treasure box for April from Potomac Beads, and we're going to make this really fun tassel earring. And you guys can, if you don't have the box, you can actually kind of adapt this to any kind of tassel thing you want. So I have 3 drops, long drops on the side, 3 short drops at the top, and I beaded this little top area. So I'm going to show you how to do that. But yeah, you can use any tassel, any length. You can adapt the length of the drops, you can adapt what beads you have on it, and you can also adapt how large or small the top area is. So I'm going to show you the basics of this and you're going to go from there. Now I am using the tassel that came on the end of our strand of bicones that we got, and we are going to be using some of the bicones as well. So I'm going to show you how I got this off, how I've done everything. Okay, so sort of step by step so that there's no confusion at all. Okay, so these are cheap tassels. You can see that they are not very smooth. So I tried a couple things. After I made the earring, the first earring, I wet my tassel under the tap, and then I let it air. I hung it up and I let it air dry. That didn't really help. These just kind of kept springing up. So then I went and I got my straighteners, my hair straighteners, and I straightened the tassel, and that worked. Okay, so you can either iron the tassel or you can use a hair straightener. I used it kind of on the medium heat, and I just kind of straightened the tassels. Now obviously they are tassels, so they do move around, but when I had already done my top area when I did that, so I made sure to hold all of that out of the way, because what you don't want to do is melt your beading thread. So I held everything that was not part of the tassel out of the way like this, and I then straightened it. But what I would recommend is you straighten it before you begin, and then you can always do a little touch-up straighten at the end, but just be super careful not to get that iron anywhere close to your beading thread, because we are using a nylon beading thread, and nylon will just melt if it gets too hot. Okay. Alrighty, so first of all, I'm going to run through the materials. So I'm using some 11O seed beads, and these just came in our collection. They are the Azuki seed beads in metallic blue iris matte, and I'll link everything below as well. And then we got these very pretty Briolette crystal drops. So I used 6 per earring. Oh, that's one of the spacer beads, I think. Then we have these Miniduos that are also really pretty, and these are the blue metallic Suede Miniduos. So I'm using 12 per earring. Okay, now if your earring is a different type of tassel, maybe it has a bigger top, you're going to have to adjust the number to fit around the top of your tassel. But if you're using the ones that came on the end of your little strand of bicones, you're going to be using 12 Miniduos. Okay, and then you're going to need some bicones, and I'm using 2 different colors. What I did was I alternated. So I did black, blue, black, blue, black, blue. You could do all one color if you want to. It's entirely up to you. I just thought it was kind of fun to change the colors up there. And then whatever kind of drops you want on the end. So I also used, as you can see, the bicones here. I did the black on the top, the blue underneath, and I used these really pretty Tibetan style drops that we got, which were the Athenacast Pewter spacers. So I decided to use those. Now this jump ring, I'm using a 6mm jump ring. This is not the jump ring that came in the collection. This is a bigger jump ring. And that is because what I did was I put it through the top of the tassel like this, and then I connected my ear wire on, okay? And the ear wires also came in our treasure box. These treasure boxes have lots of fun things in them. So we got a pair of silver ones, we got the little stoppers, and we got the wire guards to match. So these are great little selections. Okay, so that is everything that you're going to be using. All right. Now, if you got the treasure box, you got a strand of bicones with these kind of tassels on it. Now, we did also get in the treasure box some knotting cord, so you could make your own tassel using this, and it would be a little bit probably straighter, but also you wouldn't need as many hairs, okay? So you could, I'm assuming you guys are all crafty and you know how to make a tassel. So if you wanted, you can make your own custom tassel using whatever color you wanted, or you can use, you know, a pre-purchased tassel. It's really up to you. Okay, anyway, these are just kind of at the end of our strand of bicones here. So the first thing I did is I very carefully got some very sharp scissors. So I'm using these embroidery scissors, okay? You'll notice how sharp they are at the end, very pointy, okay? And I very carefully snipped off the thread right here, okay? And I pulled that out. And on the other end, I had to kind of snip a couple times because it was looped more than once, okay? But just be super careful as you're pulling this out. I'm actually not sure what I'm getting caught on here. I'm gonna just snip that off there, and so get that thread out of there if you can. I think it's actually sewn in, so I'm just going to snip it. Okay, it's okay. All right, then what I did is I opened up my jump ring, and you're gonna try and catch all those hairs, all of those threads at the top of your tassel. And the easiest way to do it, don't try and do it like this way, scooping, okay? You're gonna try and go sideways through, and you're gonna just try and run through the middle of all of those hairs. And because the tassel's already formed, you may not kind of get all of them, but hopefully you can kind of get all of them. And I'm kind of pushing and I'm wiggling, and I'm just trying to get through the middle and catch all of those loops. And it looks like I did catch almost all of them, probably. Okay, so once you've done that, you can close that up, okay? And that is what you're going to use to hang your ear wire on at the end. Okay, once you have got that on, I still don't like that I can see that little bit of thread. I'm going to try and pluck that out. Hang on. Okay, I was able to get that little piece of thread out, and I also restrung it, and I think I got more of the, I think I got all of the loops this time. Once that was out, it was a little bit easier to get through. So, okay, so here we are. So you'll notice that we have these gold threads here that were what tied the top of the tassel. So what you're going to do is you're going to pull those gold threads up, and you're just going to snip those off. Leave a tiny, like a millimeter or two, you know, leave a little bit of length away from the knot. Just trim that. It's all going to be kind of hidden by the beading. So you just want to cut those gold threads off, okay? Just be careful that you're not snipping off any of your your blue threads. Okay, so I cut those off. I can throw those away. And now if you want to iron your tassel or use a hair straightener on it, you can, but in the interest of time, I'm going to just skip that for now, okay? So what I do in order to, when you're beading, obviously you're going to have a lot of these hairs all over the place getting in your way. So I have a little hack for that. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a little plastic bag, okay? You're going to open the bag and you're going to put the tassel in the bag. And you can kind of smooth down the hairs down into the bag as much as you can, okay? Get it like this and then zip the bag, ziplock the bag, okay? Then you can pull it up just so that the top is hanging out, and then all the ends are going to stay here. And the nice thing is you can easily readjust it. You can take it out, you can put it back in. You're not using tape or anything that's going to like get stuck on it or potentially put sticky stuff on it, okay? So this is kind of how I control the hairs, and it's a nice big thing that is easy to grab onto, okay? So that's what we're going to do while we're beading around the top of our tassel. You're going to just stick it into a little plastic baggie, and I know you all have plastic baggies because everything comes in a plastic baggie, okay? All right, I am going to pull off some more of these bicones because I need a few more. I had tied my other end up, so I need some more blue and some more black ones, so I'm going to get those out and then we'll begin our beading. Okay, so get yourself some nylon thread that matches your project. So I am using this Nymo in this navy blue color. Nymo is not my favorite nylon thread. It's probably my least favorite, but that's the one that I have in navy blue. So I do wax Nymo. I find if I don't wax it, it really splits a lot, okay? And then I got myself a full wingspan because tassels, because you're going up and down the tassel, always takes a lot of thread. So get yourself a nice long piece. All right, now if you're using the same tassel that I am off the end of your bicones, then you can use the same number of beads that I'm using. If you're using a different tassel, you may have to experiment a little, but what we're going to do is we're going to pick up one seed bead and one mini duo, and we're going to repeat that until we have 6 of each. And I have already checked the holes on my mini duos. Make sure that you do so that you know you can get through both sides of it. Okay, that's 5. And that is 6. Okay, so I now have 6 seed beads and 6 mini duos. I'm going to push that down, and I'm going to leave myself, you know, enough of a tail. I like to actually leave quite a long tail so that my tail is longer than my tassel in case I get confused. I can tell, oh, that's the long one, that's my thread there. Okay, so I leave quite a longer one so that, you know, just in case the tassel pulls out of the bag or something, you can easily identify your end thread, okay? Then you're going to pass through all of those beads again, and then we're going to place it over the top of our tassel, and then we're going to pull it because the top of the tassel is kind of a little bit bigger than the thread area that's pulling the tassel in, so we want to make sure that we can get it over it, okay? So I'm just pulling that, and so once you've got that, you're going to also, you'll have kind of a ring like this. You can also pass through the very first seed bead and the first mini duo, just in order to close up the ring. All right, so now you have to place it over your piece before you pull tightly, and then you're gonna pull tightly, okay? All right, so that is now kind of on there. Except I have a loop of thread. I need to pull both ends to try and get rid of this loop. There we go. All right, make sure that you don't have any loops and everything is fitting around pretty good. Now, if there's a tiny bit of wiggle room, that's okay. What you don't want is you don't want it to be so loose that it can fall off, okay? So you kind of want it tighter rather than looser here. So obviously if you're using a different type of tassel, you might need 7, you might need 8, you know, just pick the appropriate number. That doesn't really affect things. It might affect your the way you do your drops at the end, but you don't have to do it the way I do it. You could do every single bead has a drop hanging down, every third bead, you know, but pick a number that you can kind of divide like by 2 or by 3. So I've got 6, which is a nice even number to use, okay? Okay, so here is my tail, and I'm just kind of holding it down behind my bag, and I'm coming out from this mini duo here. I am going to enter into the outside hole of that mini duo. So I've effectively turned around, and then I'm going to add 1 bicone between each mini duo, and so I'm doing alternating colors. So I'm going to do a blue, black, okay? So you're going to add 6 in total. Okay, and on the last one, I went through that and through the first bicone just to make sure that I am fully closing up that gap. Okay, so there are my 6 bicones attached onto my mini duos, okay? Now we're going to add another mini duo in between every single bicone. So you're just going to pick up the mini duo and you're going to sew straight into the next bicone. And these mini duos, be very careful about what just happened there. Make sure that your thread does not get caught on the end of the tassel here. Make sure that it is going where it's supposed to. Okay, so these mini duos are kind of going to hang out here. They're not really going to know where to go. That's okay, just kind of leave it for now however they want to go, okay? So pick up another mini duo, go into the next bicone, and just continue doing that all the way around. And when you've added your 6th one on and you're coming out from the bicone, move forward into this first mini duo that you added there on that round on the inside hole, okay? Then you're going to step up into the outside hole of the mini duos that we just added. Okay, and you're going to pick up 1 seed bead and you're going to sew into the next mini duo. And what should start happening is it's going to pull in like this, okay? And you can kind of push your thing down a little bit. So it's going to start pulling in around the top of our tassel as you add the seed beads in between, and you're making sure you're not getting a looped over the top. Just make sure that your thread is running on the outside, okay? And you can go ahead and pull. It doesn't matter if it pulls to the top, to the bottom, whatever, as long as it's pulling all in the same direction. So mine's pulling upwards, so I'm going with that. Yours might pull downwards. You can go with that. And on the last one, I like to run through until I get, you know, run through like the mini duo, the next seed bead, and the next mini duo, just to make sure that I get kind of a good tension in there. Okay, so we now have this. Now this is not attached to the tassel in any way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew through, I'm on the top, so I'm going to sew through kind of the top area of the tassel right here. You don't have to sew through where the jump ring is. You can kind of stab through the middle if you want to, but you just want to sew through, and that's going to keep your top from moving up. We're going to go back down to the bottom. We're going to sew through underneath. So that's going to keep this on the bit that we want it to stay on, which is the gold thread. Okay, so you want to keep it from sliding up and down. So I just stabbed through the middle, and then I'm just going to sew into whatever beads happen to be on the other side. So that's kind of anchoring the top in place, and then we're going to anchor the bottom down here so that it can't go up. Okay, so that's going to stop it from falling off basically, and kind of tell it, this is where I want you, don't go down, don't go up. Okay, so it will be trapping itself in there. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to, coming out from one of my mini duos on the top, I'm going to turn direction again. Okay, so I'm just going from the inside hole to the outside hole. So now I'm going back the other way, and I'm going to go through a bicone. Yeah, you're going to pick up 2 seed beads, and you're just going to sew straight into the next bicone, and that's going to kind of cover up the area where our thread is and tidy up our edge. So like this. Okay, so you're going to add 2 seed beads in between each bicone. So you're just skipping over the mini duos altogether, and you're just going from bicone to bicone and adding 2 seed beads. Okay, and when you've added your 2 seed beads all the way around, I like to go through the very first pair and then the next bicone as well, just to kind of finish off that round. Make sure you're not catching another seed bead when you exit that bicone. Okay, and you can give that a squeeze. You can kind of squish it in a little if you want to, and that'll kind of make it a little taller. Okay, all right, so now we have this, and we're going to step down to the bottom layer. So I'm coming out from this bicone right here, and I'm going to sew through the outside hole of this mini duo. And then I'm going to sew into the inside hole of the mini duo, and I'm just going to sew through a couple of the beads here on the inner ring. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing we did before. I'm going to sew through the tassel itself, making sure that I'm above, or I guess technically below, the gold thread. Okay, so this is going to stop this from coming up. Okay, so we're holding it underneath the gold thread, and then wherever you come out, just sew through those beads. Okay, so that is now the top section completed. Okay, and what we're going to do, if you want to, you can stab through again if you want to make it a little bit more sturdy in place. What I'm going to do is probably do that with my end tail at the end, but if you want to do that now, you can sew through, and also you can sew through more than once at the top, you know, if you want to do it like an X. It'll probably hold it a little bit more steady. Okay, so now we're going to begin to add our long tassels like this. Okay, and you can use any beads that you want. You can make them however you want them to look. That's entirely up to you. So what I did is I did 20 seed beads, and then bicone, this accent bead, another bicone, and then 4 more seed beads. Okay, so let's go ahead and pick that up. Make sure that you're coming out from one of your mini duos, which I am. So you want to be coming out from a mini duo, an inside hole of the mini duo. Okay, so 20 seed beads. Okay, you can push those down once you've got those on. And then I'm going to pick up a bicone. So I picked up black on the top and blue underneath. So I'm picking up a black, I'm picking up my pretty pewter bead here, and then I'm picking up blue, and then I'm picking up 4 more seed beads. Okay, so I picked up a black bicone, a Tibetan bead, a blue bicone, and then 4 more. I'm just going to push all of that down. Okay, so this is what I have so far. I'm going to then pick up one of my Briolettes. And then I'm going to pick up 3 seed beads. Only 3 this time, okay? And I'm going to sew through the 4th bead, so the bead that's right below the bicone, through the bicone, through the other Tibetan bead, through the next bicone, and through the very first seed bead here. Okay, so make sure you have a seed bead on each side there, okay? Okay, and then you can go ahead and kind of lay it with the edge of your thing. Make sure it's all nice and snug. You can pull on your bicone, make sure all that's snug, okay? Then you're going to pick up 19 because we have one that's shared right here. So we only need 19. So what I do is I pick up 4 from my first group, and then I pick up 3 more groups of 5. So that's the one, that's the 5th one, okay? So okay, so I've added my 19 on this bit, which including that one will be 20, okay? And then what you're going to do is the mini duo that you're coming out of, you're going to sew through the other side of it and through the next seed bead and the next mini duo. Okay, so through the same mini duo, the next seed bead, and the next mini duo. Now, pull that and just make sure that you have no slack. You may need to pull on the bottom of this, you may need to pull here, but just get that so that your tassel looks good and balanced and there's not any obvious slack. It's okay if it's like a tiny bit of slack because you kind of need that for it to dangle properly, but you don't want a lot. So it should be coming out from one side of the mini duo and going into the other side of the mini duo. Now you're going to make some decisions here. It kind of depends how many beads you have around the top here. If you want to do every single mini duo, another drop here, and you know, but I did every other because I have 6, so I'm doing 3 drops in total. Maybe if you have 8, you might need to do 4, or you can do every single one has something hanging from it. So I'm going to not do the next mini duo, so which is the one I'm coming out of. So I'm going to move forward through the next seed bead and through the next mini duo to get in position to do my next drop. So I'm kind of doing every other mini duo, okay? And what I'm going to do when I meet up with this tail, I'm going to tie a knot just to make sure that that's tight. And at the end, I am going to sew again through the tassel a couple times just to make sure that this is all fixed down, okay? All right, so I am coming out from the next mini duo over, so I've kind of skipped forward over this one, and I'm coming out the next one. So I'm going to again pick up 20 seed beads, and then I'm going to pick up a bicone, an accent bead, a bicone, 4, and a briolette, and then 3, go back up through the bottom seed bead here, through the bicones, through the first seed bead, and then 19, and I'm going to sew again into the other side of that same mini duo, and then I'm going to move forward and I'm going to do my third tassel. So you should have 3 in total. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do that off screen, and I will come back when that is finished. Okay, I'm just adding my last tassel. I've got my 19 beads on, and I'm going again through the same mini duo that I started in. And you don't need to move forward at this point. You can just exit through that mini duo. Okay, so I now have my 3 tassels connected. Just gonna make sure I don't have any slack here. Okay, that's looking good. All right, so now if you want, you can open your bag and put your tassels in. It's kind of up to you. This next bit isn't too difficult, so you probably don't need to. All right, so we're exiting from our mini duo where we started from, okay? So you're going to pick up 5 seed beads and a briolette and 5 more seed beads. And you're going to sew into the next mini duo that has the tassel attached on, okay? So just sew straight over. You're skipping the one that has nothing, and you're going straight over into the next one that has something on it. So we're making a little V shape like this, okay? And you're going to do that 2 more times, picking up 5, briolette and 5, and then sew into the next mini duo that has a tassel, okay? And once you've got 3 on, you'll be back to the beginning. So I'm just going to do that quickly, really quickly. Hang on. Okay, so this is my last group, and I'm sewing back into that very first mini duo. Okay, so I've now got 3 little shorter dangles at the top like so. Now I did tie a knot with my tail when I was going around doing my long ones, so if you haven't tied a knot with your tail, you're going to want to find that and do it. Now you're basically done. It's just if you want to attach anything, tighten anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again sew straight through the middle of my tassel underneath, just to make sure that this is fully attached on, and then I'll just sew through whatever beads happen to be on the other side. You can reinforce anything that feels a little bit loose, and then what I would do is meet up with that tail that I still have hanging on the outside, tie another knot, and then sew in your threads. And then you're basically done. You can add your hanging loop. If you need to iron or fix your tassels, you can do that. Okay, so I'm gonna finish sewing in my threads, and then I'll come back and show you the finished earrings. Okay guys, I finished the other earring. You can see I do need to do a little bit of hair dressing on it, but I will do that in a minute. You can see that they came out really nice. I like these a lot, and the nice thing is because they're tassels, they're not that heavy, but they are large and kind of statement earrings, you know. So if you like big earrings, these are definitely for you. If you don't, maybe you could just do one and have it at the bottom of a necklace. You know, it doesn't have to be an earring, or even like a bag charm or something like that would be really cute as well. If you are making a different size or you have more at the top, just keep in mind the weight. So you're not going to want to have tons, like these briolettes are quite heavy, and so are these larger beads here. So just keep in mind the weight. You might want to, if you're doing every hair, you might just want to have a smaller drop, or even just have seed beads hanging down. Even 15 O's you could use. So you can adjust these however you want to, but I just wanted to give you the idea for the project. And yeah, these are kind of fun, a little bit different. So do go and check out the treasure box subscription. They have another box subscription as well. I'll put a link for that down below. You definitely get a lot of beads and a lot of fun ideas from what they give you in the box every month. So I think they're really good value. So go check those out. And if you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any projects. And I will see you guys in my next video. Take care. Bye.